why do all the really cool rat rods come out of the desert? Well, the answer is they don't. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of really cool iron comes out of the desert. If you don't follow Spud here on the socials, you're missing out, because he builds some of the coolest shit known to man. And he does it in the middle of the hot, dry California wasteland. There's reasons for him and a lot of other people who build cool cars doing it out in the desert. One being that California specifically has a long and rich history of car culture. Another being that dry desert air and roads that aren't covered in salt half the year means cars last a lot longer out west. But for the same reason that the race to rust is a lot faster here in the Midwest is the reason that Minnesota specifically has some of the best rat rod culture in the country. See, restoring cars is labor intensive and expensive, and body work and rust repair is the most labor intensive and expensive part of it. So while out west there's lots of scattered shells of cars and trucks waiting to be brought back to life, around these parts our options are a little bit more limited. Most of the cool stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that didn't survive the salt has long since found its way to the junkyard. But we do have a lot of old farmland. A lot of old farms have a lot of old cars, trucks, tractors, and equipment that have just been laying around because old farmers never got rid of anything. And a lot of these old rigs were retired to the pasture before the DOT really ramped up the sodium content in our arteries that these vehicles used to travel on. Meaning if you can find them, they're generally not completely rotted away. And that means that around here, for most people, a rat rod is just a little weird and a welder away. As a result, some of the most rich rat rod culture and some of the most badass rat rods ever built come right out of Minnesota. In fact, Rat Rod magazine is published right here in Minnesota with its founder living just down the road from me. And they used to put on a great car show called Rat Rod Resurrection right in Harris, Minnesota. It was one of my favorite car shows around. Pretty much any car show you go to in the area will field a pretty rich and diverse crop of rat rods, whether it's a rat rod specific car show or not. Everything from mild patina rods to the more traditional rat rods to chopped and ratted out school buses and two-stroke Detroit powered pickups. In fact, arguably the most ridiculous rat rod in the entire country, the Hulk Camino, is right here in Minnesota. It's something that sort of resembles a 59 El Camino. It's been shortened, chopped, half the cab is in the bed. It's got an 800 horse blown big block in it, and it's different every time I see it. They're constantly working on it. It's one of the coolest things on four wheels, and if you know rat rods, you know this car. And if you don't know it, you should Google it, because you'll want to know about it. And on top of all of that, Minnesota has one of the biggest and the best car show in the country. Back to the 50s, held at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, and between the beautifully restored Bel Airs and the Willys Gassers and the T-Bucket Hot Rods and the Resto Mods, there are countless rat rods that are so cool and ridiculous you have to see them to believe them. And if you ever get the chance, you absolutely should. And well, from Mad Max to Wasteland, the desert gets all the glory for rat rodding culture. Just keep in mind that Minnesota still boasts some of the coolest rust around.